The photograph hangs in the archive like a held breath. Sepia-toned, carefully balanced, it shows a family seated in formal unity, their posture rigid yet affectionate in the way 19th-century portraits often tried to be. The father's hand rests lightly on the arm of his chair, the mother's lips curve into a restrained smile, and the older children stare forward with the solemn patience demanded by long exposures. At first glance, it is unremarkable, even comforting, the kind of image that reassures historians that the past was orderly, domestic, and knowable. Most people linger only a moment before moving on. It is the youngest sister who keeps the experts from leaving the room. She sits at the edge of the frame, small hands folded in her lap, her dress identical to her sister's but worn more tightly, as though tailored in haste. Her face is angled slightly away from the lens, a common occurrence in photographs from 1878 when children struggled to remain still. Yet there is something about her presence that unsettles the eye. Not fear exactly, but a quiet wrongness that grows the longer one looks. When the image is digitized and enlarged, the harmless illusion fractures. The shadows around her feet do not behave like shadows should. The texture near her sleeve sharpens into a shape that resists explanation. Most disturbing of all is her expression, now clear in a way the original photograph never allowed. It is not the vacant calm of a child enduring a tedious moment. It is awareness. Focused. Intent. Her gaze does not meet the camera. It seems to slide past it, fixed on something beyond the viewer, as if she knew she was being recorded for someone else's future. Archival notes list her as the youngest of 5, born sickly, deceased before her 10th birthday. No cause given. No grave photograph found. As technicians continue to refine the image, a chilling thought begins to circulate among them, unspoken but shared. This portrait was meant to preserve a family. Instead, it may have preserved a secret, patiently waiting for the moment someone finally looked closely enough to see it watching back. The story begins with the quiet rediscovery of an 1878 family portrait during a routine archival restoration project, one of thousands of glassplate negatives long stored in controlled darkness, catalogued but rarely examined in detail. The photograph emerges as an immediate favorite among conservators, its condition unusually pristine for its age. The tones are rich and balanced, the edges intact, the surface unmarred by the cracks, chemical burns, or water stains that typically plague images from the late 19th century. At first glance, it appears to be a rare example of near-perfect preservation, a small miracle of time and careful storage that seems to have defied the slow violence of decay. Archivists note the composition with admiration. The family is arranged with textbook precision, the father seated centrally, the mother slightly angled toward him, children positioned in descending height as was customary in studio portraits of the era. Their clothing is formal but not extravagant, suggesting modest prosperity rather than wealth. Every face is visible, every hand placed deliberately, as though the photographer took special care to achieve balance and harmony. The exposure is clean, the depth of field unusually sharp, allowing even the fine stitching on the children's cuffs to remain visible more than a century later. When the image is briefly displayed in a digital preview for internal review, it draws unexpected attention. Staff members linger over it longer than most, commenting on its warmth, the strange sense of intimacy it conveys despite the stiffness of the subjects. There is a subtle impression that the family was not merely posed, but unified, bound by something deeper than the artificial solemnity common to the period. Some remark that it feels almost modern, as though the photograph belongs to a later era when candid emotion was more openly captured. The portrait is tentatively selected for inclusion in a forthcoming exhibition on domestic life in post-Civil War America, praised as a visual anchor that could humanize the historical narrative. Documentation accompanying the negative confirms its date and origin, listing only basic details: a surname, a small town, the year 1878. Nothing about it seems remarkable beyond its exceptional condition and compositional clarity. It is, by all initial assessments, a benign artifact, valuable not because it is strange or shocking, but because it appears so reassuringly ordinary. Yet even in these early moments of admiration, a subtle tension exists beneath the praise, unnoticed and unspoken. The photograph's survival feels less like chance and more like intention, as though it had been waiting, untouched and unchallenged, for the precise moment when modern eyes and modern tools would finally bring it back into the light. As the restoration process moves beyond surface cleaning and catalog verification, the portrait is transferred to a high-resolution workstation where preservation specialists begin the slow, methodical task of examining it for hidden damage. At this stage, the work is usually routine, focused on identifying chemical inconsistencies, emulsion fractures, or early signs of silver mirroring. The image is magnified incrementally, section by section, its familiarity dissolving into abstract textures of grain and shadow. It is during this careful inspection that one specialist pauses, drawn not by damage, but by something that does not align with the technical expectations of an 1878 studio photograph. The irregularity appears near the youngest sister, subtle enough to escape casual notice. At first, it resembles a common exposure artifact, perhaps the result of a child's slight movement during the long seconds required to capture the image. But as the magnification increases, the explanation grows less convincing. The edges are too defined, the tonal transition too deliberate. It does not blur the way motion would, nor does it bloom like a chemical flaw. Instead, it holds its shape, resisting categorization within any known defect common to glassplate negatives of the period. The specialist adjusts the contrast and isolates the area digitally, comparing it against reference samples from thousands of similar restorations. Nothing matches. The shadows behave strangely, pooling in places where the studio lighting should have dispersed them. The grain pattern tightens rather than softens, suggesting an interruption during exposure rather than a flaw introduced afterward. A quiet unease sets in, the kind that comes not from fear but from professional dissonance, the discomfort of encountering something that refuses to fit within established frameworks of knowledge. Colleagues are called over, their reactions restrained but increasingly focused. Each brings a different hypothesis, each one discarded almost as soon as it is proposed. No evidence of double exposure is found. No retouching marks appear under spectral analysis. The emulsion layer shows no sign of tampering. Whatever this anomaly is, it was present at the moment the photograph was taken, captured intentionally or at least undeniably. What troubles the team most is its placement. It is not random, not peripheral. It clings to the youngest sister as though anchored to her presence, subtly altering the visual weight of the composition. Once seen, it becomes impossible to ignore, drawing the eye back again and again despite the image's otherwise orderly structure. The portrait begins to feel unbalanced, its earlier warmth replaced by a faint sense of intrusion, as if something foreign has been quietly embedded within a familiar scene. Though no one says it aloud, the implication lingers in the room. This is not the kind of imperfection that time introduces. It is the kind that originates at the source, woven into the image from its very first moment, waiting patiently for someone to look closely enough to realize it does not belong. With the anomaly refusing all technical explanations, the team escalates the analysis, pushing the image far beyond the magnification normally required for conservation. Software reconstructs the photograph at a scale never intended by its 19th-century creator, each grain of silver rendered into sharp relief. What once appeared as a vague inconsistency now begins to resolve into detail, and the room grows noticeably quieter as the youngest sister's portion of the image sharpens beyond expectation. The first thing that becomes clear is that the shape near her is not random. It possesses contour and depth, a deliberate form that casts its own shadow in a direction inconsistent with the studio lighting visible elsewhere in the portrait. The shadow bends inward, as though responding to a different source of illumination, one not accounted for by the lamps used in photographic studios of the era. This alone would be unsettling, but it is the object's proximity to the child that unsettles the experts most. It appears partially concealed by the folds of her dress, yet distinct enough to suggest physical presence rather than photographic illusion. As the resolution increases further, attention shifts to the youngest sister's face. Her features sharpen in a way that feels almost invasive, revealing fine details lost to the naked eye. Her lips are not relaxed, nor are they tense. They rest in a precise, controlled line that does not match the discomfort typical of children forced to sit still. Her eyes, once assumed to be slightly unfocused, are anything but. The pupils are centered, alert, and fixed with an intensity that feels disturbingly mature. There is no trace of the vacant patience seen in her siblings' expressions. Instead, there is calculation. More disturbing still is the direction of her gaze. It does not align with the camera lens, nor does it drift aimlessly. It appears aimed just beyond the frame, as if she is looking at something standing beside the photographer, something close enough to command her full attention. When this realization settles in, the image feels less like a frozen moment and more like a captured exchange, a silent interaction interrupted by the shutter. The object near her becomes clearer with each pass of enhancement. Its surface reflects light differently from fabric or flesh, absorbing shadows in a way that suggests a material not commonly found in domestic settings of the period. Some describe it as an implement, others as an appendage, though no interpretation sits comfortably. What everyone agrees on is that it does not belong in a child's portrait, and certainly not one intended to present innocence and familial harmony. At this level of clarity, denial becomes impossible. The photograph is no longer merely strange, it is evidentiary. It shows something present that should not exist in an image from 1878, something deliberately included or deliberately ignored. The youngest sister is no longer a passive subject of the portrait but its axis, the silent center around which every unsettling implication now turns. Once the visual evidence reaches a level that can no longer be dismissed, attention turns away from the image and toward the lives it supposedly represents. Archivists begin tracing the family's records, expecting at worst a tragic but ordinary history of illness or loss. Census data from the late 1870s confirms the household, listing parents and 5 children, including the youngest daughter whose presence now dominates the photograph. Her age aligns with the image, her name recorded without remark, her existence at first appearing unexceptional. It is only when the timeline continues that inconsistencies begin to surface. Church baptismal records show her entry, but burial records are strangely incomplete. A margin note indicates her death before adolescence, yet no date is provided, no cause specified. In a period when childhood mortality was sadly common and meticulously recorded, this absence stands out. Local cemetery logs list the graves of her siblings and parents, but her name does not appear among them. There is no marker, no plot assignment, not even a reference to reburial. It is as though she vanished from the administrative memory of the town. Newspaper archives offer little clarity. Mentions of the family appear sporadically, documenting ordinary events such as harvest yields, church gatherings, and a marriage announcement years later. The youngest daughter is never mentioned again after the year the photograph was taken. Not in obituaries, not in notices of illness, not even in the vague euphemisms commonly used to soften the deaths of children. Her absence is not dramatic. It is quiet, bureaucratic, and deeply unsettling. School registries deepen the unease. She is listed as enrolled for a single term, then withdrawn without explanation. No illness is recorded, no relocation noted. The family remains in the same town for decades afterward, eliminating the possibility that she simply moved away. Even personal documents, such as a surviving family Bible passed down through generations, reveal a disturbing omission. Her name is written faintly in pencil rather than ink, later partially erased, the page smudged as if someone attempted to remove her from the lineage without fully committing to the act. What troubles researchers most is how neatly these contradictions align with the photograph. The image insists on her presence, rendering her with clarity and permanence, while the records quietly deny her continuation. It creates a tension between what was seen and what was later allowed to exist on paper. The possibility emerges that the photograph captured her at a pivotal moment, one after which acknowledging her became undesirable, even dangerous. By the time the team assembles a complete dossier, a grim realization settles in. The historical record does not simply fail to explain the image. It actively resists it, offering gaps where answers should be, erasures where certainty belongs, and a trail of silence that suggests whatever happened to the youngest sister was not meant to be remembered, only contained within a single image that refused to forget. As the final pieces are assembled, the investigation shifts from analysis to implication, from what the photograph shows to why it was allowed to exist at all. The image no longer reads as a simple record of family life but as a deliberate act, a decision made by those present in the room in 1878. Someone chose to bring the youngest sister into the frame. Someone arranged her carefully, dressed her to match her siblings, and positioned her so she could not be excluded without disrupting the composition. The question that now dominates the discussion is not what was captured, but what was being acknowledged. The photograph begins to resemble a boundary rather than a memory, a line drawn between what could be admitted publicly and what had to be hidden afterward. If the youngest sister's fate became unspeakable, the portrait may have been the last moment in which she was allowed to be seen at all. The anomaly beside her, once viewed as an intrusion, starts to feel like the true subject of the image, its presence normalized through careful staging. This was not a mistake overlooked by a careless photographer. It was something accepted by the family, something they chose not to confront directly, trusting the limitations of the era's technology to keep it indistinct. Experts revisit the family's social standing, noting their consistent involvement in church leadership and civic committees in the years following the photograph. There are no scandals attached to their name, no rumors preserved in print. This absence of controversy becomes part of the pattern. Silence, it seems, was not incidental but practiced. Whatever the youngest sister represented, it did not follow her into adulthood because adulthood was never an option. The photograph froze her in a state that could not be allowed to progress. The most unsettling realization comes when researchers consider the emotional logic of the image. The family's expressions, once interpreted as stiff formality, begin to read differently. There is restraint, yes, but also a collective tension, a careful stillness that suggests compliance rather than comfort. The youngest sister's awareness stands in contrast to the other's resignation, as if she understood the significance of the moment more clearly than anyone else present. She was not merely being photographed. She was being documented. In this light, the portrait transforms into a kind of containment, an attempt to fix something in place before it could no longer be controlled. The camera did not accidentally reveal a secret, it was used to anchor it, to give it a form that could be locked away and forgotten. That the image survived so perfectly only deepens the unease. Preservation becomes part of the intention, a quiet confidence that time would eventually erode understanding even if the evidence remained intact. By the end of the inquiry, the conclusion feels unavoidable. The photograph was not meant to deceive future viewers, nor to confess. It was meant to endure, holding within it a truth that could not be spoken, trusting that only when someone finally looked closely enough would the past succeed in finishing what it began.